The schedule of the inauguration program will include welcome address by Professor R.G. Jaibai, inaugural address by Honorable Vice Chancellor, inaugural address by the today's guest of honor, Andre Panin, presidential address by Professor M.N. Kaul, and finally, the address by patron of IIG, Professor K.R. Dikshit. Now, I would like to call upon Professor Ravindra Jaibai, Head of the Department of Geography and Secretary General of IIG, to deliver his welcome address and give a brief account about this conference. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Emilata. Good morning to one and all. Today's guest of honor, Vice Chancellor Professor Nitin Karmarkar, sir. The guest of honor, Professor Andrei Panin, the Russian Academy of Sciences, Moscow, Russia. Patron of the IIG, Professor K.R. Dikshit. President IIG, Professor M.N. Kaul. Chair of the plenary sessions. Today's all respected speakers, colleagues from the department, governing council members of the IIG, invited dignitaries and dear participants. On the behalf of the Department of Geography, SPPU Pune, and Institute of Indian Geographers, I would like to extend warm welcome to all of you for 42nd IIG Annual Meet and International Web Conference on Geography for People, Planet, Prosperity and Peace on online platform from today up to the 6th October 2021. This annual meet of the IIG was planned during either October or November in 2020. But due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic, the national conference was postponed in February 2021. Then we were waiting for the normal situation, but continuation of the complete or partial lockdown and severity of the second wave, it has been finally decided to have online conference instead of offline annual meet. I will quickly go through the theme actually, what the theme we have proposed, the philosophy or idea behind this theme. This is the Anthropocene, the age of humans, a new geological epoch, which has several challenges related to sustainability for people, the planet, prosperity, and peace. According to FAO, at present state, over 41 million people worldwide at risk of the famine, food insecurity, and death. World Bank is estimated about additional 88 million to 115 million people may push into the extreme poverty this year due to COVID-19 pandemic. The number of undernourished people at the global level is about 688 million, and inequality is growing more than 70% of the global population. The recent sixth assessment report of the IPCC warns that the degree of global warming will give rise to some irreversible effects and will only accelerate sea level rise and worsen the extremes such as heat waves, droughts, floods, and storms. And this would have a severe impact on lives and livelihood and natural habitats. This scenario is aggravating the risk of divisions and hampering economic and social development that leads to the problem of livelihood, social justice, equity, health-related issues of especially the vulnerable communities. I believe that geography could play a crucial role to address these challenges. The purpose of geography is to explain territorial diversity and complexity and deal with the man-environment interrelationship. Its nature as an organic whole evolved out of the harmonious interrelationship between all living and non-living objects existing together in specific territories. The synthesis approach in geography can provide a practical forecast of the consequences of man's interference with natural forces. Thus, the use of fundamental, integrative, and synthetic approach of geography and geospatial technology in reassess the themes that can assist decision makers in planning and development to achieve inclusive, sustainable, and resilient development at varied geographical scale. So this is the concept note this is the idea behind framing this concept note of the conference. Now, as I'm the head of the Department of Geography and also Secretary General of IIG, I would like to introduce the people, those who are may not be aware about our department and IIG also, and to be precious to whatever the development happening in the department for last few years. So our department So this is the front side of the department. Our department courses, there are the 4 courses: MSc Geography, then MSc Geoinformatics, MSc Geoinformatics, then PGBSc Applied in GIS and Remote Sensing, 1 year of vacation, no vacation diploma course. It was started in 2002-3 and PhD course. Our department is the department, we have proudly say that we are having all the specialization: geomorphology, climatology, economic geography, and population and settlement geography. And in addition to that, we have all the contemporary things what are happening in the development in the geography, like advanced courses in GIS and remote sensing, then advanced surveying, then advanced statistics, and all the computer programming which is required for the thing. So this is the front side of the department. Honorable Vice Chancellor has given emphasis. Skill enhancements is very much required for the employability point of view also, and making the education more fruitful. So on that line, department has the cognizance of his address, and we decided to start this certificate course. So certificate course in GIS and remote sensing is a 3-month course. Certificate course in advanced surveying is also 3 months course, and certificate course tourism and administration and management 6-month. The course is designed in such a way that immediately people have the employability. So all the practical based course we have designed in the department. In addition to that, last year we established the Center for South Asian Studies. There were the discussions in the IIG platform. There should be a strengthen the regional geography, and India is a part of the South Asia, and geography is looking to the holistic point of the issues. So we should take the initiative and have interdisciplinary kind of activity through the South Asian studies. So this is our magnificent university main building. This is the front side of the building, and another right side is the back side of the building. This is our department. You can see the corridor here. Both the sides there are the cabins of the. This is the monument in front of our department. This is our seminar hall. Here we can accommodate around 150 people. Generally, we have the major lectures and all the programs in this hall. Then this is another hall for the geoinformatics, and we can also conduct the practical for about the 50 people easily in this hall. We have this geoinformatics lab where the 40 people can simultaneously sit here and do the practicals in geoinformatics, and it's a well-equipped lab. Another lab we have just established, that is the for PGBS. It is in the development stage, and soon it will be completely developed. Then another lab we have in the department for the only dedicated to geography people, those for the having the courses in GIS, remote sensing, then computer programming, advanced statistics, and so on. So these are the facilities regarding the things. This is our department library where 40 people can sit, and there are a good number of the books which are having mainly the reference book we have purchased, so people can go through all the physical geography, human geography, and books related to spatial geoinformatics. This is the recently we have developed a room, dedicated room for the research students. So here the 10 to 12 people can sit and they can continue their research work while sitting in the for the study purpose in this room. This is our office. This is the map we restored. It was almost, I think, long back. It was 3D map. It's very wonderful map. It did long back actually. We asked the people, and it was lying almost for the 3 decades in the department. So we took the 3 months to restore this, and Mr. Purandare who worked on that. And this is the now it is just is displayed in the department. This is the what in offline situation. Whatever I have explained about the different things is always we are missing it. This is another thing. But we have the conference hall where generally we have the DC meeting and some other meeting in the department. We possess the latest generation of surveying instrument which we use for all these courses. These are the DGPS, total stations, and so on. Recently, we have purchased the drone. We have advanced surveying kind of course, and for that it is very much required. This is a brief about the department. Because we wanted to invite you physically and have this beautiful campus of the university and see the department, but I tried my best little bit to contribute to show you something about the department. Another organization which is the jointly organizing with the IIG. The majority are aware about the IIG, but those who are not, for briefly I will introduce about it. IIG means Institute of Indian Geographers. It was established in 1979 at the initiative of the Professor K.R. Dixit. He was the founder president. And the department in this, our department is the registered headquarters of the IIG. The membership of the institute is largely drawn from the earth scientists and other allied disciplines, and proudly we can say we have more than 1,100 members across the country. The important feature of this IIG is that it has been publishing for more than 4 decades, the biannual journal Transaction of the Institute of Indian Geographer. Since the beginning, it is in the UGC tier list, and also it is indexed in the Scopus. Annual Geographer Meet, which is also since the beginning, we have been organizing at different centers of the university. As now today this is the 42nd this annual meet, and there are the people believe that it's very good opportunity to share their academics, their ideas, and this is the platform is acknowledge the contribution of the geographers. For annual meet, Young Geographer Award, A.B. Mukherjee Memorial Lecture and thematic plenary lectures or discussion are the major feature of the annual meet. But Young Geographer Award and A.B. Mukherjee Memorial we have taken because of this online situation, and it was uncertain situation when the things will happen. So there was request to have a separate. So we conducted this. Now quickly, I will go through the reports of the Institute of Indian Geographer by the Secretary General of the IIG. The 41st IIG annual meet in the year 2019, it was a national conference on the theme Building Disaster Resilient Society Method and Approaches was organized by the School of Studies in Geography, Pandit Ravi Shankar Shukla, University Raipur, Chhattisgarh, during November 21st to 23rd, 2019. This is the organizing committee. I must acknowledge the contribution done, the support of the Kesrilal Verma, Vice Chancellor, Dr. Naresh Kumar Bhagmar, who was the professor and head of the department, and Professor Uma Goel, who is the now presently professor and head in the department. The important feature of these programs, the chief guest of the conference was the Dr. K. Subramanian, member of Planning Commission, Government of Chhattisgarh. Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. Kesrilal Verma was the guest of honor. Professor Sudesh Nangia from the JNU presented the IIG presidential address during this conference. I read the Secretary General and Professor Uma Goe, Madam, organizing secretary of the conference, proposed the vote of thanks. Some silent feature of this, the conference was spanned over the 3 days and total of 30 technical sessions and around 150 papers spanning on different themes. There were plenary sessions delivered by the various eminent geographers during these days. Fifth, Professor A.B. Mukherjee Memorial Lecture delivered by Professor Sunando Bandopadhyay, Department of Geography, University of Kolkata, and the theme delivered this A.B. Mukherjee Lecture on the theme Hazard Resilience in Warming World Issues and Challenges in the Sundarban region, India and Bangladesh. Another activities of the IIG last after 2020 and the half of this 2021, we published the volume 42, 1 and 2, and 43, 1 volume already published and uploaded on the website, and volume 43, second volume, it is in the press. A midterm governing council also we organize on online on blended mode actually. So department colleagues in the department and some people to discuss about the what should be the situation in this COVID-19 situation, what should be the plan of action of the IIG regarding this different program. And as I mentioned that now IIG is having more than 1,100 people and as across the country as life members and institutional membership of 26 people. Regarding the IIG's activity in year 2020 and 21, we organized 2 programs by taking the need of the contemporary need of this geospatial technology. Online workshop on QGIS, there were the 45 participants took the part, and another program we took introduction to Python for GIS, and there were the 50% people students were the participated. It was very much appreciated by all the present. We organized the Young Geographer competition in 26th February. There were the 40. We received the 45 participants, shortlisted participants. We conducted this competition in 2 phases, and we shortlisted. And these are the Deepika Visistha, then Pooja Banerjee, Nambita Sarkar, and Suman Bhattacharya were the awardee of the Young Geographer competition. Then we also had a separately conducted again this A.B. Mukherjee Memorial Lecture. This lecture was delivered by the Dr. Neelam Grover, former professor of geography and Dean Alumni Relations, Punjab University, Chandigarh. The title of this memorial lecture was The Development Imperatives and Disappearing Rural Cultural Landscape Identities. Another national seminar we had, Geopolitics and Geoeconomics in Contemporary Southeast Asia. Actually, this program was proposed in March 2020, but it was the period, it was the announced, the lockdown kind of thing. But we organized in the March 2000, 1 year after. Mahendra Lama was proposed, is given the keynote address, and there were many stalwarts, those who have been working on South Asia, they contributed to this. This is one of the national seminar we organized. In 10th and 12th June, there was one national web conference organized with the IIG and Department of Geography on environment development and livelihood, sustaining earth and people. So more than 300 people took the part in this conference. There were the 120 abstract were the presented. Then 5 plenary sessions in that 16 eminent scholars spoke on this area of expertise. Then there was one panel discussion. There were the 25 technical sessions. And in that technical session, there were the 25 lead lectures by the different scholars across the country. Honorable Vice Chancellor was inaugurated the chancellor and given an address from that case. Now, if you look into the today's conference, the response of the today's program is satisfactory. About more than 350 participants registered and about 175 abstracts shortlisted for the presentation at the conference. There will be 8 plenary sessions and 1 panel discussion, and about 50 experts will share their views on the various things of the conference. There will be 32 technical sessions having the 32 lead lectures of scholars from the different institutions across the country. With these words, I would like to conclude my welcome speech, and I am grateful to the university authorities, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Pro Vice Chancellor, Registrar, and other university authorities, teaching and non-teaching colleagues from the department, and the IIG Governing Council, and all invited speakers and dignitaries and participants for the full-hearted support. There were many people there who truly supported to invite all these people from the country and as well from the abroad. But I think the list is huge, so I will take their, when there will be validity function, I will acknowledge their contribution. So with these words, I am concluding my welcome speech. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jaibai sir. Thank you for your welcome address and a brief introduction about the Institute of Indian Geographers and the Department of Geography. Now, on behalf of the Department of Geography, I would like to again welcome Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Nitin Karmarkar, to this international conference. Professor Karmarkar, a former head of Department of Environment Science and Department of Geology, is a well-known scientist in the field of igneous petrology. Along with his wonderful administration, he has to his credit many research publications in various national and international journals. He has worked with various research collaborators from Australia, France, and Germany. Over the years, he has strongly shouldered various administrative duties, which includes coordinator of IQAC, member of Central Purchase Committee, member of Senate, and others. Professor Karmarkar, in 2005, he received Professor C. Naganna Gold Medal of the Mineralogical Society of India, Mysore, towards his contributions in the field of alkaline magmatism of the Kutch region, Gujarat. In addition to this, Honorable Vice Chancellor, he has been nominated as the member of the Governing Board and the Governing Council of Consortium for Education Communication. Professor Karmarkar has also been nominated by the Government of Maharashtra as a chairman of the steering committee to examine, evaluate, fulfill, and enhance bilateral education ties between France and Government of Maharashtra. Without doubt, Savitribai Phule Pune University is fast emerging as a premier institute of higher education at the national and international level under his proficient and dynamic leadership. With these words, I would like to request Honorable Vice Chancellor Nitin Karmarkar sir to please deliver his inaugural address. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, madam. And good morning to every one of you who have joined for this international conference jointly organized by the Department of Geography and the Indian Institute of Geographers. and on a very apt topic, especially in the present scenario when the COVID to a great extent have changed the dynamics world over. I'm pretty sure there are many mentors, many senior persons, subject experts, those would be delivering their talks and would be deliberating and discussing the various different issues pertaining to this particular conference theme. I also welcome the honorable mentor of both geography as well as the University of Pune, Professor Dikshit, who is the founder president of IIG. The head of the department, Professor Jaibai, under whose leadership basically plenty of programs been brought out during the recent past, despite the fact that COVID to a great extent has engulfed every one of us. But despite that, the work went on, and there's quite a sort of a synergy with which he has worked extensively. So I must congratulate him for keeping this work going as such. And the rest all people who have joined for this particular webinar. You all know Savitribai Phule University, which is perhaps the largest public state university in the state of Maharashtra, and been ranked as #1 in the state of Maharashtra and nationally at the number 11 in the recent NIRF ranking. Keeping basically the motto of this or the topic of this particular conference, in fact, the university is also taking due diligence in working on various different issues pertaining basically, or rather can be considered the vertical of this conference. We have created an SPPU Research Power Foundation, and on which under which basically on 5 verticals we have been concentrating the most: water, then agriculture, third being basically the healthcare, fourth is electrical mobility and artificial intelligence. This particular platform to a great extent provides mentoring for the ideas students carry, and then they also receive some funding basically to take forward their ideas. And if they come out with any prototype, obviously we join them with basically some industry partners as such. So this is basically to look into the aspect of, to a great extent, self-employment as such. So they would initiate their own industry and will take care of basically many more as partners, or probably as employees in the industry they start as such. And currently there are 40 such startups, more or less to a great extent have roughly around 150 odd people working in these 40 sort of startups as such, working on various different aspects as such. We all know during the pandemic, especially, this is the report that has been given by UNESCO, that because of the pandemic, roughly around 9.4 million students would be permanently out of education system as such. So to address this particular issue during the pandemic, we have moved into ODL, what is called the open and distance learning, so that they can do their education from wherever the place they are working, and with a very minimal cost as such. And apart from that, we are also coming out with a new concept that is called the Degree Plus, because most of the time it has been seen the skills that are required or some of the ideas that are required, which are not to a great extent embedded in their curriculum, those would be provided in the form of basically certificate of degree or diploma courses. So roughly around 500 such courses, which include certificates, degree and diploma. We are unveiling this particular platform, Degree Plus, and which encompasses basically all different faculties, whether it is science or whether technology, whether it is humanities, whether it is commerce and management. We will be inaugurating this particular platform on 14th of this coming month as such, and wherein students will get access to some of the best courses For example, the Harvard Business School that provides many such courses, which to an extent are the student, those generally join the University of Pune belong to basically a lower economic class as such. So for them, they cannot afford directly basically accessing those courses provided by such agencies like the Harvard Business School, or maybe the Harvard University, or maybe the MIT. So those courses in a very reasonable sort of pricing are being provided through this particular platform, so that the student would not to a great extent would be grumbling sort of after their graduation, especially in the job market as such. So from that point of view, this is one of the best activity that we are looking at. Apart from that, basically, we have been also looking into the healthcare part as such. During the pandemic, in fact, the university was in the forefront, and then whether it is COVID testing, or whether it is vaccination, or antigen kit testing, or the clinical data that was acquired from great extent was getting modeled, on the basis of which, in fact, we were to a great extent predicting about the progression of this particular disease. So that has helped immensely, basically, to the local authorities, to the government authorities, both at the state level as well as the national level as such. And then this being basically a populous country, India being a very populous country, we are also addressing the other communicable diseases like dengue, chikungunya, swine flu, and for which there is a dedicated center that we have created, that is called as a Center for Molecular Diagnostic and Research, and through which, in fact, we are taking care of various these different diseases as such. So there are about 50 odd hospitals in and around Pune. They are on page, and with synergy we are working with them so that it helps immensely in eradicating, or at least into a great extent diluting the effect of such communicable diseases as such. So these are the areas wherein the university has been working extensively as such. Apart from that, the technology to a great extent has come forward, especially in the pandemic when the lockdown was declared. How do we go take forward the education? That was a big challenge. So initially, to a great extent, we were to an extent not prepared to take this particular challenge. But with the IT support, with the IT cell, and the newly created EduTech Foundation, which is a Section 8 company through which we could establish our own LMS. And then, barring the first examination, subsequent all examinations and teaching has happened through this particular platform as well. So wherein, in fact, not necessarily only the teaching, for teaching purpose, even when the pedagogy has changed, when the student, especially the teacher community, were feeling it very difficult to go online, they were mentored by a team of experts. So how do we face the camera? How do we create basically the synchronous and asynchronous kind of e-content? And roughly around 100 odd colleges came on page. And then the number has increased slowly. Now roughly around 400 odd colleges are making use of this particular facility as such, and through which there are about 4,000 e-content being created as. There is a CDX that's called as a Content Delivery Express, through which, in fact, we are trying to help the other universities also, as well as the other colleges also. And that is what basically is the key thing the university presently been concentrating more. The topic, although I'm a geology person and geology, geography are in the very close proximity. Even on the campus also, the department are located next to each other. And there is very, very cordial kind of relation that exists between these two departments. So there are certain research projects that are happening, which are to a great extent are multidisciplinary in character, wherein obviously the faculty from geography and geology is working together, whether it is geomorphology or whether it is the climate change, that climate emergency that has been talked about. So on those various different issues, in fact, people are working together, and there is quite a synergy among the faculty between the Department of Geography and the geography as such.
There seems to be some technical issue. Please stay with us.
I think we'll wait for 1 minute and
Okay, sir.
yeah, it disconnected from their side. Sir, unmute the first.
Am I audible now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm sorry. There was some technical hitch, like the internet went off. I joined once again on my mobile. So it is a very interesting sort of a topic that has been chosen for this present seminar. And there are experts coming from all different parts, including Russia, and then people coming from basically various different parts of the world. And they would be discussing and deliberating on various different verticals of this particular topic, geography for the prosperity, peace of the planet as such. And from that point of view, I'm sure that those who have joined in online mode, because I could see from the discussions or from the opening remarks of the head of the department, there's a quite overwhelming response this conference has received. There are 300 odd participants, and then 150 odd abstracts have come forward, and those would be getting presented and discussed. And there is also a panel discussion that has been happening. So I'm pretty sure this will take every one of you a long way and would to a great extent help in outlining basically the future research programs and future basically research activity in the Department of Geology, as well as in the multidisciplinary sort of areas as such. So with this, once again, I welcome every one of you. My best wishes for the conference. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. With all our due respect, we would like to thank you for your presence at this inauguration function and for giving motivation to all the delegates of this conference. We really appreciate you taking out time for us from your busy schedule. Thank you, sir, once again. Moving ahead, today we have among us our guest of honor, Professor Andrei Panin from Russian Academy of Sciences, Moscow. I request Professor Amit Dhorde to introduce our guest of honor. Over to you, Amit, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Hemlata. Honorable Vice Chancellor of Savitribai Phule Pune University, Chief Guest of the inauguration function, Dr. N.R. Karmarkar, Guest of Honor, Dr. Andrei Panin from Russian Academy of Sciences, Guest of Honor, Professor M.N. Kaul, President, Institute of Indian Geographers, Guest of Honor, Professor K.R. Dikshit, our patron and founder, Institute of Indian Geographers, Convener of the 42nd IIG Annual Meet, Professor R.G. Jaibai, Head, Department of Geography, Savitribai Phule Pune University, my colleagues, distinguished delegates from various universities and colleges in India and other countries, research scholars, students, ladies and gentlemen. A very good morning to all of you. It is a matter of great honor for me to introduce Dr. Andre Panin, a gentleman of high stature in academics. Dr. Andre Panin, born in 1966 in Moscow, Russia. After his schooling, he graduated in 1988 from Department of Geomorphology and Paleogeography, Geography faculty, Lomonosov, Moscow State University. He was awarded PhD in Geomorphology from Moscow State University, and he worked on morphodynamics of incised gravel bed river channels. He also obtained DSc in 2015. From 1991 to 2021, he was with Department of Geomorphology and Paleogeography, Moscow State University in various capacities such as research scientist, assistant professor, and full professor. Since February 2021, he is Deputy Director in Institute of Geography, Russian Academy of Sciences, and his research interests include fluvial geomorphology, river paleohydrology, geoarchaeology, Holocene, Pleistocene epochs. He is a very active member of Russian Association of Geomorphologists, the Russian Association of Quaternary Research, INQUA TERPRO Commission, INQUA Peri-Baltic Working Group. And today he is there with us. He will be speaking on glacial outburst mega floods in northern Russia. Sir, we are extremely delighted to have you amongst us, and we look forward to your talk. Thank you.
Thank you for a kind introduction. Dear colleagues, I thank you for the invitation to give this introductory lecture at the annual conference of the Institute of Indian Geographers. For me, as a member of Russian geographical community, it's a great honor to participate in such a respected meeting. My personal research takes place in the territory of Russia, which is a rather big territory, but quite different from that of India. Nevertheless, I tried to choose a topic that may be of interest to Indian geographers. Can you see the presentation?
Yes, sir. Yes, can.
Thank you much.
Yes.
Here is the title of my lecture by co-authors, the researchers from different institutes of Russian Academy of Sciences. And this is what we will talk about. Some small introduction on the importance of studying the glacial outburst floods, then the introduction in the discovery story of the Quaternary megafloods, and then a rather long story about the study of the case study in the Russian South Siberia to illustrate how we study this phenomena and what difficulties we have. Glacial lake outburst flood, which is abbreviated as GLOF, is a release of meltwater from a moraine or ice dam, glacial lake, due to dam failure. GLOFs often result in catastrophic flooding downstream with major geomorphic and socioeconomic impacts. The typical discharges of largest modern GLOFs are on the order of thousands or tens of thousands cubic meters per second. For your comparison, is the discharge of the Brahmaputra River, and you see the GLOFs, which take place in rather small alpine valleys, have discharges comparable to that of Brahmaputra. So these are very catastrophic events. Here is the map illustrating the global distribution of glacial lakes and potential glacial lake outbursts. And you see that the Himalayan region is one of the regions that may be and do potentially hurted by this catastrophic phenomena. The red asterisks show the major recent glacial lake outbursts, and some of them fall on different regions of Himalaya. There are also some different kinds of catastrophic events connected to the releases of glacial dam lakes. Such are the glacial avalanches, and the example is the very well known in Russia Kolka glacier catastrophe that took place in 2002. On the evening of September 20, 2002, the west to the Mount Kazbek, it's one of the main mountains in the Caucasus, the meltwaters of the Kolka glacier that were dammed by the glacier broke through, and the glacier collapsed, causing a massive avalanche of ice, snow, and rocks to pour into the Ganaldon River Valley. Here you see the satellite images showing the situation before and after the collapse. And here is the Kolka glacier, and here is the trace of the ice and rock avalanche, which is up to 20 kilometers long. Glacial debris flow brought ruin for almost 20 kilometers of the valley and covered it with up to 30 meters thick debris. Here you see the end of this debris town and the dammed secondary dammed lake Saniba, which inundated the village of Nizhny Karmadon. And at least 120 people were lost beneath the ice. And such catastrophes are not very rare also in different regions of Himalaya. And here you can see the map from the recent paper by German researchers showing marine dammed glacial lakes in the Himalayas in 1-to-1 degree bins. Bubbles are scaled to the total lake area and color-coded to abundance. In the upper right corner is the histogram of the glacial lake areas. Reported gloughs, shown by yellow rectangles, have occurred most frequently in the past 8 decades in regions where glacial lakes are largest. And the researchers also calculated the 100-year outburst flood, its parameters. They are more than 30 million cubic meters in volume and a peak discharge of around 15,000 meters per second. So also comparable to the Brahmaputra river. Well, given these discharges of largest glacial outburst floods, we have to say, yes, and the last slide in the introductory part is that the risk of gloughs is increasing under present day global warming conditions. In the late 20th century, at least since the 1970s, and in the current century, the general global trend of glacier shrinkage and increase in the number and size of glacial lakes has been seen. At the same time, human activities have expanded further into glaciated catchments. Therefore, the study of how gloughs occur and their impacts is important for future hazard mitigation. Here you see the current rapid growth of glacial lakes in one of the regions of Himalaya. The glacial lakes are shown by red arrows here, and each of these lakes is potential source for the hazard. Given the above pictures of the discharges of modern gloughs, thousands or tens of thousands cubic meters per second, we must say that in the past, the discharges of similar events were an order or 2 orders of magnitude higher. The discovery story of quaternary glacial megafloods deserve a special account. But first, we have to explain the term megafloods. Victor Becker, the former president of Geological Society of America, in his 1997 paper, coined the term megaflooding to describe cataclysmic outburst flooding with the Great Lake Pleistocene ice sheets of North America and Eurasia. The appropriateness of this term was reinforced by the fact that floods of interest generally had peak discharges in excess of 1 million cubic meters per second, hence the prefix mega. Mega is million. Moreover, this same unit of water flux designated one Sverdrup, named for the pioneering Norwegian oceanographer Harald Sverdrup, is the same measure that is applied to oceanic currents, which are the other major short-term water movements on the surface of the Earth. So the terrestrial megafloods are comparable to their magnitudes to oceanic currents. Now that's what megaflood means. When such huge discharges are combined with appropriate energy gradients to produce very high flow velocities, net shear stresses, and unit power, the result is the phenomenon of high energy megafloods, which might also the name superfloods was suggested in Becker's paper in 2002. The discovery of megafloods was not so simple because these are phenomenon that has no present-day analogs, which makes the to researchers difficulties to recognize their traces in the landscape.
Sorry,
And the
Andre.
discovery.
Sorry, Andre, we can see your slide 30%. We cannot see the full view of your slide.
Well, I understand. I see some green boundary at the screen, but I don't. Let me try to reload my presentation. Okay, can you see now?
Yeah. Yes.
Maybe this is better. I will switch the full screen mode off, and you will see it better. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Andre.
Thank you, Sunil. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's go. So, the discovery of the glacial megafloods is connected to the name of the professor from Chicago University, J. Harold Bretz, who in early 1920s led a field trip of students in geology and accounted for an unusual landscape in the Columbian Plateau in the west of the Rocky Mountains. In 1923, he published a paper in the Journal of Geology, which was the first paper on this topic. And after that, there was a great debate in the Geological Survey of the United States about the megafloods. Most researchers rejected the interpretations by Bretz and suggested other interpretations of this landscape. And it was only in 1960s and 70s that Bretz's concept was accepted by the majority of the geological community. So let's look what kind of landscape traces of megafloods were designated by Bretz. First is this kind of landscape, which was called scabland, with coulees, deep canyons carved in very hard bedrock in basalts. The coulees with rock remnants inside of them, and here is in the lower right corner is the explanation how they could formed, and they could formed only by as Bretz thought, they could formed only by a giant flow with depths of hundreds of meters and respective hydraulic phenomena that could produce such fast and deep erosion of bedrock. The question arises, where was the water from? And Brett found the shorelines of Palwe lakes filling depressions upstream of the coulees, which could be which could evidence the existence of very deep lakes at the times of that accumulated water that could be released to produce such giant flows, and not only geomorphic but also sedimentological traces such as the Lacustrine deposits. Then another giant flow indicator is giant ripples composed of boulder deposits in the bottom of the depressions, and also giant boulders occurring here and there on the bottom of these depressions, which were interpreted as being floated into the scablands by icebergs or raft of ice. So the complex of these indicators allowed Brett to propose his hypothesis of giant floods, and here is the map which shows the general situation and explains the concept. Here you see the west of the Rocky Mountains and the Cordilleran and Laurentide ice sheets at around the last glacial maximum, 15 to 20,000 years ago. The rivers, the Columbia River was periodically blocked by ice, by glaciers descending from the Columbian Plateau, and the dammed lakes were formed. The major of them was Lake Missoula. Periodically, these ice dammed collapsed, which generated these large mega floods. And here you see the region of scablands, coulee, and all these indicators of passing these giant flows. Well, I have said already that this concept was accepted only by 1960s or 70s, and after that, a real hunting for megafloods on Earth began. So researchers tried to recognize megaflood traces in different regions of the Earth. And one of these regions was the South Siberia. Let us speak on the megafloods in North Eurasia, namely in the South Siberia, with special emphasis to the Altai Mountains. Here is the paper of our colleagues, the paper from 1990s, which describes the traces similar to the Brett's, to what Brett's was found in the Columbian Plateau, the traces of megafloods from South Siberia, from Altai and Sayan mountains. Goro Komatsu, well known here, he was a PhD student of Dick Baker. He collected evidences of paleo drainages and of floods over the whole northern Eurasia. You see them as red arrows here, but not all of them can be called mega floods, because most of them are were produced in the lowlands, and so they were not they had not such huge velocities as the Columbian mega flood. But the region, the Altai Mountains, gives us a good example of the mega floods similar to that discovered by Brett's. Sorry. Oh, excuse me, let me try to return to the full screen mode. I see the green. No, excuse me. Excuse me. Can you see the full screen now?
Yes, we can see, but part of this figure are
Only
cutting.
part. Okay. Oh, go back. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is the location of the region I will talk about. Right north probably from the place you are sitting now, right north from India, but across the Himalayan, Tibet, and Central Asia mountains. This is Russian part of Altai. The physiography of the place is as follows. There are several regions split by big intermontane basins: Kurai Basin, Chue Basin, the greatest of them, Ulvon Basin, and the Alaman Basin. They are drained by rivers Chuya, Katun, and also this region, river Bia. This is important because these basins serve the places for accumulation of water, for accumulation of lakes that outburst and produced the giant floods. Here we can find all similar indicators of mega floods, of existence of dammed lakes and of mega floods as found by Bretz in the Columbian Plateau. First, you can see such natural exposures of finely laminated silts, lacustrine deposits. You know that for mountain regions, sands and silts are very rare sediments because they are to find for such energetic conditions. And when you find such deposits, you are sure that they were left by lakes, which now do not exist in the region. Second, giant ripples. Here is the satellite image of a part of Kurai Basin, and which marks number 2 is the giant ripples, and number 3 is the lacustrine strand lines or lacustrine terraces on the side of the basin. And here is the view of the giant ripples in the Kurai Basin, similar to that found by Bretz in the Columbian Plateau. There are no rivers draining this part of the depression, no river valleys that could produce these boulder ripples, and only some giant flow that filled the whole basin could have left these geomorphic forms. Some researchers doubted that these ripples were really ripples and not moraines, but Paul Carling made the georadar service of one of several of such dunes, and he found the internal structure, the bedding, inclined bedding, quite typical for river bars, river dunes, and he proved the fluvial origin of these dunes. Second, then is the ice rough boulders in the bottom of the Kurai Basin. The car is for the scale, and the petrography of these rocks shows that they were brought from the adjacent mountain ridge. But what was the force that could transport this rock, which weight is several tens of thousands of tons? It could only be the ice rafting. No other transporting mechanism could not be produced for these boulders. Also, here you can see the strand lines or terraces of the lakes on the sides of the basin, which prove the existence of former lakes. How could these lakes be formed? The mechanism of river damming is as follows. In the background, you can see the entrance to the large Chue Basin, we see from south, from north to south. Here is the other Kurai Basin, and they are connected by a very narrow Chuya Gorge. And the glaciers that descended to the Chuya Gorge could have dammed, could have made a dam across this gorge, which could form a lake in the Chuya Basin. Similar lake was formed in the Kurai Basin. Sometimes they could be connected, forming a large body with the volume of water of more than 1,000 cubic kilometers. Here is the moraine deposits, the glacier till left by one of these glaciers that proves the existence of former ice and then moraine dam that dammed the lakes. What were the consequences of the outbursts of these giant lakes? One, the water came downstream. It formed giant bars in the valley of River Katun. You can see this river with rather gentle meanders and terraces in the inner parts of the meanders, which elevation reaches 200 meters. But in fact, these terraces are bars of a giant flow, which depth was at the order of 400 to 500 meters. These bars are composed of sediments of this kind, parallel bedding of gravels with rather large boulders, and this bedding may be traced for hundreds of meters, which could not be done in a lake, because some researchers doubted this interpretation and thought that these deposits were Lacustrine deposits. However, also this phenomena as large blocks of boulders with preserved bedding, which could be transported in frozen condition and be dropped on the bottom of the flow from ice. This is the presentation of the interpretation of the stratigraphy of this valley. There is so-called inner terrace, 200 meters high, which is composed of the deposits I showed before, which are called now as catafluvial deposits. And there is also another lower Saljar terrace, which was probably formed by another megaflood event. Well, all this traces of this evidence of megafloods were discovered by Russian, then Soviet geologists in late 1980s, and after that, they attracted the international community to this phenomena. And there was a paper in Science by Vic Baker, and well, Alex Serdoy is one of those geologists who found this evidence of the megafloods. Baker is a hydrologist, and he estimated the magnitude of these floods. You see that according to his estimations, the discharge of the flood was 18 million, the peak discharge, 18 million cubic meters per second, which is above or at the same range as the largest Missoula flood. And other mega floods are known to that moment, Bonneville flood, Lake Agassiz flood, and others had lower discharges. So the Kurai flood is now ranked in the top 5 mega floods in the Earth's history. And what is important is that the precondition of the formation of such large floods in the Altai Mountains is the physiography of this mountain system, the occurrence of large basins connected with narrow gorges that could be filled with water damped by glaciers in the gorges. And so these large intermountain basins served the accumulators of water necessary for formation of these mega floods. If you look at the geomorphic or topographic map of Himalaya, we will see that there are no such conditions here, and so this is why the Himalayas, which are much higher than and much larger mountain system than Altai, but did not produce such large mega floods in the last glacial epoch. So physiography of the mountain system is a key for formation of such phenomena. What is the interpretation of this morphology and sedimentology? Here you can see the Katun River Valley, rather narrow valley with these bars and meanders. And here is the interpretation how it could formed. All these terraces, 200 meters high, were in fact the bars on the bottom of the flow, and the depth of the flow reached 400 to 500 meters. So you can see this terrace, the former bar, and you can imagine that the level of the flow was much higher than the surface of this terrace. It is hardly to imagine, and that is why this concept is not accepted by all the researchers. Some researchers still doubt that such great floods could have existed. However, there are also different evidences of such floods, such as minor dammed lakes in tributary valleys. I will show them below. The largest debate now is the age of these megafloods. The most accepted view is the Altai megafloods occurred around the global last glacial maximum, around 15 to 20,000 years ago. What this dating is based on? First, there was produced a cosmogenic dating of exposure ages of large boulders. I showed you large boulders dropped from the icebergs on the bottom of former lakes, and also large boulders contained in the catafluvial deposits. The calculated date is around 18 to 19,000 years ago, and it is very consistent in different parts of this mountain, of this megaflood system. The other evidence is also the age of the lacustrine deposits from the dammed lakes in tributary valleys. Here, the optical luminescence method can be used, the method that allows to date the burial age of sand or silt deposits. And here you see that these burial ages are, each of the layer of the lacustrine silts is related to megaflood event. So we can conclude that probably there were not one, but at least 3 megaflood events around 20,000 years ago. However, there are also evidences that these megafloods were much older than it is thought to be. First, we can see some evidence in the Chuya Valley that, here is a very difficult, a very complicated physiography. Here is the young Chuya Canyon, and here is the old valley that was abandoned by River Chuya due to glacial damming. And in both valleys, both in the valley the old valley and both in the canyon, we can find the deposits of different origin, which are much older than 20,000 years ago. If you imagine that a mega flood with depth of 0.5 kilometer depth passed through this valley, no deposits of such age could have been preserved here. So this is the evidence that after these ages, after 80 to 90,000 years ago, no such cataclysmic floods could have passed through this part of the valley. And this part of the valley is between the Katun, which are shown with the terraces, and the lakes in Chuya and Kurai basins, which were the source of the water. So this is a geomorphic evidence that the floods were much older than 20,000 years ago. And also direct date of terrace deposits. It is difficult because the luminescence ages of which were collected from these deposits. You see, they are also on the order of 1,000 years ago, 100,000 years. But these ages are criticized because probably the mechanism of sedimentation was of such kind that could prevent the bleaching, the total bleaching of the exposure of the quartz in the sediments to sunlight, which is necessary for correct work of this method. So we tried also to use the luminescence ages of the lasers that cover the terraces and that may give us the constraint for the ages. You can see also again this inner terrace, the former bar of this large flow. It is covered by losses. So this is the date from the deposits of the bar, and this is the one of the date of the. It's not loss, but it's a slow pore deposit on one of the terraces, and you see that it's much older than 20,000. And also the loss cover on the surface, on the top of the terrace. On the top of the terrace, there are 3 pits here. Here is the profile, and the ages are here. So the loss luminescence ages from those are quite well, and they are always accepted by the community as well bleached dates. So you can see that the lower dates from the deposits are on the order. These are infrared, and these are quartz luminescence ages. So now we believe to the red dots here. You can see that due to these dates, we can see that the bar was formed not later than 80 to 90,000 years ago, because the lower dates are on the order of 80 to 90,000 years ago. What about the lakes in giant ripples in the Kura lakes? They are rather well dated by cosmogenic method, and the terraces are dated by OSL to around 80 to 19,000 years ago. What about them? They are rather good evidence of existence of lakes. We have to conclude that probably the evidence of the lake here and the evidence of giant mega flood downstream in the Katun Valley, which I showed before, they are not related to each other. So this lake existed, but it drained in non-catastrophic manner, probably. That's the complicated story of this landscape. And if we synthesize all the data on glacial phases and mega floods in Altai, with the help also of other region at Teletsky Lake. I have no time to tell about it. Also very interesting case study. We can say that probably there were 2 phases of glacial advance and of formation of lake outbursts. First, around 80 to 90,000 years ago, and second in the Teletsky Lake region. It was already so. These lake outbursts were due to the failure of ice dams, and in the Teletsky Lake the lake continued to exist after the recession of the ice due to moraine dam, and the lake was occurred here at around 40,000 years ago. And probably at the LGM, at 20,000 years ago, there was some minor outbursts, some minor floods, but not the giant floods reconstructed by the geologists. Well, let me switch to some final remarks, which are as follows. Sometimes it's impossible to understand the origin of the Earth's landscapes on the basis of only observation of modern processes, and some processes in the past have no modern counterparts. And but only mega floods give us a good example of how it works, and so it's a good example for researchers that we cannot limit our views on nature only on our empirical empirical things. We have also bad news for all of us, for geographers, which is that present-day glacial outburst floods are much weaker than the Quaternary mega floods. However, they are still dangerous hazards, and they rise in the last decades due to the global warming. And what will happen to us if the Quaternary mega floods are repeated? And in this respect, we have good news. Mega floods can only happen during ice ages. Will they come, and if so, when? This question can be answered by the Quaternary science. If we take the natural periodicity of climate change, 100,000 year glacial interglacial climatic cycle, then we have already passed the temperature optimum of the modern interglacial of the Holocene, and we are now gradually sliding into the next glacial epoch. But we have many thousands of years before its onset. But will it come, taking into account the anthropogenic transformation of the climate system? Climatologists cannot answer this question yet. Therefore, it's the mission of geographers to produce different scenario of environmental response to future climate change. Thank you for your attention, and I wish the conference fruitful work on my own behalf, and on behalf of Russian geographers, I wish creative success to Indian geographers. Thank you much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your best wishes. Today, we all had a wonderful opportunity to hear Professor Andrei from Russian Academy of Sciences. Indeed, his presentation gave a comprehensive account of the glacial outburst megafloods in northern Eurasia. We really appreciate the time and effort you have put in to grace this occasion. We are really thankful once again, sir. Thank you so much. Dear audience, now it is the time for our presidential address. Before calling Professor M.N. Kaul to deliver his presidential address at this 42nd IIG annual meet, I request Professor Jaibhai to briefly introduce Professor M.N. Kaul to all our delegates. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Patel Pranam, and thank you, Andrei Panini, for accepted the invitation and delivered such a nice talk to be, which made truly aware about the things happening about the glacial studies. Thanks a lot, sir. Now coming to the this next session to introduce about M.N. Kaul. So I just want to be make it some minor changes, because as per the schedule, we're supposed to start our keynote addresses, two keynote addresses of the two eminent geographers by 12:15. But I think looking to the presidential address and remark of the IIG patron, so I think instead of 12:15, we will extend 15 minutes and we'll start by the 12:30. So I really apologize for this minor change, but I think looking to listening to all these tall words is a good opportunity to all of us. So here after the 20 minutes will be the calls of IIG Presidential Outreach. And then 5 to 10 minutes, Professor Dikshit will remark on it. And then there will be a vote of thanks by the Professor Veena Joshi. So I'll quickly go through within 1 minute to introduce Aman Kaul because majority of the people are aware about his contribution. Professor Aman Kaul is former professor and head of the department of the University of Jammu. He did his master and PhD from the Punjab University, Chandigarh, and his MPhil from the Kashmir University, and mainly his thrust in the glacial studies. He hold many positions, but I will just narrate here 1 or 2 positions important. He was the president of Indian Institute of Geomorphology, IGI, in year 2007 to 8. He is associated with the Department of Geography, University of Jammu as a consultant in DST-sponsored project on Kargil and Zanskar, and presently he is the president of the IIG. Looking to his research, it's very extensive research work he has carried out. His research area of interest includes glacier dynamics, quaternary glaciology, glacial and fuel geomorphology, and geoecological landscape, evolution, and geohazards. So these are his research interest areas. He has supervised 9 PhD scholars and published 7 books and 60 research papers in referred journals and proceedings. Looking to his experience, again, extensive experience he has, but I will just point 1 or 2 important. He has completed 5 research projects and 3 research from the DST, sponsored by DST, and 3 research projects by the Space Application Center, Ahmedabad, ISRO, mainly on the glacier studies and as well as desertification status mapping on the basis of remote sensing techniques and detailed field work. He lead the teams monitor 8 major glaciers on northwest Himalaya extending from the Himachal Pradesh to the Ladakh to assess their fluctuation record, mass balance studies, and impact of climate change on the glacial geometry and quaternary geomorphology. So in a brief, I tried to introduce Professor Aman Kaul. We are fortunate to have the association with such a eminent geographer on this IIG platform. Through his support, encouragement, and mentoring, it's truly helped us to have a new number of programs during last 2 years. So I will over to the Professor Aman Kaul.
I request Kaul sir to please unmute. Kaul sir, please unmute. Yes.
Is it all right? Am I audible
Yes.
now?
Yes, sir. You
Yes,
are
sir,
audible.
yes.
Okay. I take this opportunity to express my sincere gratitude to all the members of the Institute of Indian Geographers, particularly its patron, respected Professor T.R. Dikshit, the guest of honor of this function, for electing me the president of the Institute of Indian Geographers for 2020 to 2021, and giving me a privilege to address the 42nd annual meet at Savitribai Phule, Pune University, Pune. I am grateful to Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor N.R. Karmalkar, Chief Guest of the
It seems there is some technical issue with Kaul sir. We will be communicating with Kaul sir immediately. I request everybody to be in this session.
Kaul sir, unmute.
Please. अनम्यूट तो हो गया है.
Okay, continue, sir.
इसमें तो एकदम. Is it all right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Professor Andrei Panin, Russian Academy of Science, Moscow, Russia, as the guest of honor of the function. Distinguished members of the Department of Geography, Professor Veena Joshi, Professor Sudhakar Pardesi, Professor Amit Dorde, and their colleagues of organizing the organizing committee. Professor R.G. Jayabai, Head Department of Geography, SPPU, and the convener of the Okay. Senior geographers and fellow participants. At the very outset, I take the opportunity to express my deep gratitude to Governing Council members of IIG for their magnanimity in choosing me the president of the Institute of Indian Geographers for the year 2020-2021, and later extending the tenure further due to COVID-19 pandemic. I feel deeply honored and humbled. It is a great responsibility. I am conscious of my limitation to do justice to this office. Distinguished senior professors, well known for their scholarship
Sir, can you please unmute yourself?
Oh, I have
Of the
already
call, sir.
unmuted myself.
Yes, now it is audible.
Yes, I have unmuted. Huh?
I think-
Is it all right?
Sir, are you using the two connections? Miss,
Okay. Huh? Hello?
हाँ बोलिए सर बोलिए.
What is wrong? वाह, इसमें कुछ गड़बड़ तो नहीं है यहाँ आपका कनेक्शन में? My
नहीं, आप-
connection here is all right. Okay.
आप सुनाई दे रहा है सर, बोलिए सर.
हाँ, सुनाए. I don't know, it is. Okay, it is all right now. The focal theme of the IIG meet. Is it all right?
Sir, your internet connection is interrupting.
My is not interrupting. I don't know what is the reason. Let me have the another connection. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay, I will try to find out. Give me some time.
Nikki, will I send some coffee for you?
Good morning or good evening.
Good
Thank you,
morning.
Sunil.
Okay. Call sir, your video is all right. Just unmute. We can listen then.
Call sir, can you hear me? You please, call sir. Sir, I'm calling you. Please pick up the phone. I'm trying to call him, but I think there is, I don't know what happening. Why is not picking up?
Actually, it is from your side. It is not unmuted.
Call sir. Call sir.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Now,
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
okay. So one request, sir.
Yeah.
One request, because now already it is a 12:10. Already we are running, and we want all people wanted to listen you. So can we reschedule your program early in the morning tomorrow? So we'll get a 45 minutes, because in the 10 to 20 minutes given to you, we feel that it's not an appropriate kind of thing.
Yeah, I am ready, because actually the problem was not on
So-
my
so-
side, it
so-
was
so
from
what-
your side. The
Yeah,
host
so-
is not unmuting.
Yeah. Sir, what we'll do, we'll sort out the things today itself. We'll do some due course of time. We'll check what problem is there. And tomorrow, 9 o'clock, we'll have a, sir, is it possible? Then I think it will be a nice thing to be given sufficient time to do. I feel something very embarrassing to tell you just the things finished.
Yeah, from my side, there is no problem. But one thing is there, I have tried to unmute and unmute you. It was a problem was from your side that host is not unmuting it.
No, sir. Okay, sir. Sir, I will check it the things, and I think you apologize for me this rescheduling. But with your consent, I can do this 10. Then we'll so tomorrow 9 o'clock. Is it fine, sir?
9 o'clock. Okay, I will be there. Okay, 9 o'clock.
Yeah. I think, and then we'll go 45 minutes, sir. Because going 20 minutes, I think it is something is not feeling well to me. I mean, it's not. I'm very embarrassing for this situation.
Okay.
So it's my humble request, sir.
Okay, no problem, sir.
So thank you. Thanks a lot. Over to Hemlata Patel, ma'am. Please now just directly invite to the Professor K.R. Dixit. I think Professor K.R. Dixit doesn't require any introduction. Generally, he's the fatherly figure to the Indian geography, who is the founder of IIG, now presently the patron of the IIG. And last 6 decades, he has been extensively contributing to the geography and the field of academia, specifically in geography. Instead of going more details about the contribution, I would take the example of his recent contribution, which is considered landmark study in the regional geography. At this age of 90s, he wrote a voluminous monumental work of more than 700 pages on Northeast India, land and people. It was published by the Springer, and he's approaching at the age of 94. He's almost completed a book on Pakistan and soon will be published by the reputed publisher. Age is not barrier for him, as currently looking to his active participation in publication, discussion, and lecture at national and international level, seminar and conferences. So we are fortunate that most of the illustrious geographer of the country is guest of honor here for the conference. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your gracious presence. So over to you, sir. Sir, we would like to give a concluding remark on this occasion of the 42nd IIG annual meet and international conference, and then there will be a vote of thanks by the respected Professor Meena Joshi ma'am. So, K.R. Dixit.
How many minutes I have to be there? How many
Sir,
minutes?
10 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Sujat. Professor Karmalkar, Honorable Vice Chancellor of this university, if he is around. Professor Andrei Panin, Russian Academy of Sciences. Professor Paul, the President of the IIG. Dr. Jayabhai, the Secretary of the IIG, the convener of the conference. Members of the organizing committee, faculty members of George Washington University, and members of the audience. It has always been a great pleasure and privilege to be associated with the geography department. And I was always there to invite this present. I thank them particularly for inviting me and giving me this opportunity.
Dixit sir, please unmute. Yes, we can hear you now. Please continue.
Yes, I can talk a great deal, but one thing is for certain, the growth and the development of the Institute of Indian Geographers was a great deal. It was supporting, extended by the university, the geography department of my university, cooperation from its faculty members. The large number of members spread all over the country who always help us hold the conferences, publish the journals, or in whatever way possible. So I'm thankful to all of them. I particularly am thankful to Professor Karmarkar for saying some good things about geography, about our department, and especially mentioning my name. I was really quite pleased to hear that the university of which I was part for a couple of decades is no longer something like an ivory tower where the academics can discuss. Under Professor Karmarkar, it appears to me the reach of the university has extended. The academia and the society interaction has increased. And he has introduced a number of training programs, certificate courses, a number of platforms to reach the common and the countryside. That is all welcome. I'm sure the faculty of the university and even of the geography department, besides deeply engrossed with the teaching and research work that they have undertaken, they will always keep in mind the society around them, the people around them, and the landscape around them. Now about the theme, I must also express my appreciation for the lecture of Professor Andre Pannin. In fact, I very much admire the lecture, particularly his burst out of glacial lakes, his analysis of mega floods with a discharge of 1 million cubic feet, million cubic meter per second, the formation of the terraces. And he has said that the age is about 14 to 19,000 years, GP, for the formation of these terraces, because these terraces which have been formed by these mega floods, he has really dated, or a number of them have been dated, and that is the possible explanation he gives. I really do not know how we say that these terraces or big deposits are associated with mega floods, with the glacial outbursts or the mega floods. Was it done on the basis of the confidence of the flow, or just the sheer discharge? A large discharge would not mean certainly great confidence to carry this erratics, which he should. So that's a moot question which should be discussed. Secondly, I would have liked to ask him that since there is a talk of global warming, rising temperature, do you think there is a prospect of the outburst of the many glacial lakes in the Nepal region, other Himalayan region, and the chance of a mega flood? I really don't know. I mean, his definition of mega flood and always associated with the outburst of lakes doesn't sit with my proposition, my idea of the tropical rivers and their discharge. So this is the point, and we could think the terraces could have been formed really after the deposit. And if the deposits were formed in the mega flood, what was it that subsequently carved it out and developed the terraces? These are the questions we could have discussed, but yes, there is hardly any time. I would like to say something about the theme. Normally, we have had a focal theme for all the conferences on a very small area. The Governing Council and the Secretary General have chosen a theme for the people, planet, prosperity, and peace, which has a far wide reach. It embraces the universe. In fact, when I looked at it, I was reminded of what we are studying or what we are reading in our undergraduate classes. Geography is the city of Earth as the home of man. So Earth and man was involved, and here also he has taken into account the planet the human beings, their activities, the prosperity and peace all rolled into one. Now the question is, earlier when we had the focal thing, we were concentrating and discussing in details what was there. But this would be equally important because this is more abstract. And we could discuss at a philosophical level how geography could extend its reach, how geography could not think only of physical and cultural landscape, but could also think the society, of the progress we have made. And where this progress had led to, the tensions in the world, the wars, the peace, and so on and so forth. In fact, I would say by defining geography time and again, we have entered into a very perilous zone. If you define geography, you limit the scope. You don't allow the subject to grow. So the definitions are always, not very convenient or not very convenient to the growth of discipline. And I am reminded of Professor Galbraith in his economic historian. He wrote in his book, Economics, the Science of Human Welfare. Now, with this smothered the whole field of human activity, he said, this is what we cover. Maybe so far, we have had a debate quite often, what we call might define for lack of any other term, geography, non-geography debate. This is geography, ends here, and this is non-geography. I think we should do away with this kind of definition and this kind of barrier. And in this present theme that Professor has suggested, this is exactly what has happened. So we go to people, we go to planet, we go at the economic growth or the social tensions in the society, to show how peace could be established. It is such a wide-ranging discipline that you can discuss, or you can bring anything on the earth and discuss it. And I remember once Professor Nayak telling me, maybe it was someone, oh, all economic activity and social activities, they don't happen on the tip of a pin. That means you touch the ground, you touch the humanity. And the moment you touch the ground, you spread your activities comes to geography. That being so, I think this present theme which was proposed is well thought of, and I think it deserves our consideration. Many of us might tend to think that what is this, but maybe you can redesign. I'm not saying correct approach, but remodel your definition, remodel your approach to geography. Let me tell you another thing. The geography, a welfare approach, there people have thought about it 50 years ago. The geography of science where you can have welfare approach, or radical approach, or different kinds of approaches. And when we think of welfare approach, certainly we think of the prosperity and peace, the growth, preservation of the planet. And I'm sure when you talk of planets, you must have had how we have treated the earth, how we have diluted the earth. And I think if Earth is the home of man, it is very important that we take care of it. We keep our home clean. I don't have much to add. I'm looking forward to all the plenary lectures, all the debates and discussions, which I'm sure I find very, very instructive and useful. I thank again all the members responsible for organizing this conference, the university, all the invitees, the delegates, the speakers, another board members of geography faculty, particularly because someone asked me, how do you manage your journal? And how do you manage the association? I said, I don't manage. We have a wonderful team in the geography department. All the faculty members, they have adopted the institute. In fact, the institute is embedded in the activities of the department itself, and they don't have to worry. We started 43 years ago, the faculty members of the department, to all of them, I'm greatly indebted. They will take care of the institutes and future activities. Thank you once again for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Dikshit sir, for your encouraging words, your words of wisdom and experience. Thank you, sir. Now we move to the conclusion of this inaugural session. I request Professor Veena Joshi to give vote of thanks. Over to you, madam. Professor Veena Joshi.
Ma'am, please unmute yourself.
I deem it a great honor and a privilege to propose the vote of thanks on this occasion today. First and foremost, I would like to express a deep sense of gratitude to the Honorable Vice Chancellor of our university, Professor Aulkar, for not only sparing his valuable time out of the busy schedule, but for guiding, for giving the inspirational and motivational words, which becomes the perennial source of encouragement for everyone to go. I would like to thank our head of the department, Professor Jaibai, for giving such a wholesome, in a concise manner about introducing our department and IIG. Thank you, Dr. Jaibai. Our guest of honor today, Professor Andre Pannin. No word is enough to thank him. It was such a beautiful, informative talk on mega flood during the quaternary. And based on OSL dating, the peak was sometime around LGM. The paleo indicators and the pictures and the analysis. And I'm very, very sure that there are so many inspiring aspirant young geomorphologists who are going to find them immensely useful. And I, on personal note, what I had felt was, I liked the last slide a lot. There was one word which says that there is a good news. Such ice burst or just mega floods because of this comes only in the ice age. So that practically means that we are not going to be there. But there was a tone of uncertainty in the sentence, with a line. But what if it comes because of human cause? So it was giving us kind of a message as well. Thank you so very much, Professor Andre. It was a beautiful talk. Next, I move on to the president of IIG, Professor M.N. Kaur. This is what we see as what technology can do to us. Technology has allowed all of us to connect today, but in a moment, it has also taken something very beautiful from us, to listen to him. But it is tomorrow. Tomorrow is not very far. So we are waiting for you, sir, with this great policy. And we had no control over that. And it is going to be so wonderful, and we are looking forward to it. Professor K.R. Dixit, who is a patron, ex-head of this department, who is the guiding force for all of us. I lose myself when I sit in the class where he is talking, I just look at him. Anything that he talks, whether it is geomorphology or whether it is about travel or just anything, there is so much of knowledge and passion in him. And I never get enough of him. And I think everybody must have the same. In such a short 10 minutes, he once again took us to the classroom and gave us those memories. Thank you very much, sir. Well, ladies and gentlemen, such kind of an event doesn't happen in one day. We started rolling pics some years ago. What's I detailed to be taken care of. We are extremely fortunate to have a team of very highly professional and motivated technical staff. And with them, with us, it became all easy through and through. And I would like to thank all of you, dear participants. You've been wonderful. There are so many of you here right now. I was browsing through quickly, and I know many of you. It is wonderful to see you with such an enthusiasm. It's not the end, it is just the inauguration. We are going to meet, we are going to be together for the next 3 days. No thank is enough to all of you. And above all, I thank Almighty God for making today's program a resounding success. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Now, I hereby announce the conclusion of the inaugural function. In short while, we will be moving to the first keynote address. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
I think we'll over to the immediately keynote address. The first address, and then there will be, it will take about, I think, that whatever the time is given here. So we have extended the 15 minutes. Accordingly, it will be extended by the 15 minutes for the, in the final, whatever it should be supposed to be concluded by 1:30, but it will conclude by the 1:45. So I over to the Sudhakar Pardeshi for this keynote address coordination.
Yes, thank you, Professor Jaibai and Dr. Patel. First of all, I would like to welcome Dr. Shri Kumar Chattopadhyay to be chair of this keynote address 1. Before we start this keynote address, I would like to introduce Dr. Shri Kumar Chattopadhyay. Dr. Shri Kumar Chattopadhyay served Center for Earth Science Studies, Thiruvananthapuram, that is in Kerala, one of the states in India, from 1979 to 2013. And he is retired now as a scientist G and head Resource Analysis Division. He obtained his master's in science and PhD degree in geography from the University of Calcutta and postgraduate diploma in ITC, Netherlands. In the field of applied geomorphology and environment. He was postdoctoral Fulbright Fellow in the Environment and Policy Institute of East West Center, Hawaii, USA. Then he received Vasudev Award in 1994, which is instituted by CSTE, that is Government of Kerala, and Professor R.N. Dubey Memorial Award, instituted by Bhuvigyan Vikas Foundation, New Delhi. He is Senior Fellow of ICSSR Center for Development Studies, Thiruvananthapuram. In 2016, he served as a Fellow of HWK Institute for Advanced Studies, Delmenhorst, Germany, and he also worked as Senior Consultant, Kerala Development Innovation Strategies Council, Government of Kerala. At present, he is National Fellow of ICSSR, housed by Gulati Institute of Finance and Taxation, Thiruvananthapuram. Dr. Chattopadhyay's work area covers natural and environmental resource management, terrain analysis, human dimensions and environmental change, participatory local level planning, and sustainable development. He served as visiting faculty in Montclair State University, New Jersey, USA, then Leibniz Center for Tropical Marine Ecology, Bremen, Germany, and several other Indian universities. He has produced more than 100 research papers, authored, edited 9 books, 1 atlas, and completed 40 research projects funded by state, national, and international agencies. Several PhD and MS students from India and abroad completed their dissertation under his able guidance. Dr. Chattopadhyay served in various committees, academic bodies, and professional organizations, both at national and state level. He was also president of Indian Institute of Geographers, IIG, Pune during 2014-15. At present, he is a member of National Coastal Marine Spatial Planning Framework Group, constituted by Government of India, and co-chairperson of Working Group of Disaster Management, and subgroup on soil and land use plan preparation for formulation of 14 5-year plan, State Planning Board, Government of Kerala, Trivandrum. With this, I would like to welcome Dr. Chattopadhyay to chair this particular session. And besides this, I would also like to welcome today's keynote speaker, Dr. Nikki Evelpidau. Please pardon me if I make mistaken pronunciation of your family name. So Dr. Nikki Pidau, before we start, I would like to introduce Dr. Nikki Pidau. Nikki Evelpidau, I'm so sorry. Nikki is a professor of the Faculty of Geography and Geoenvironment of the National Kapodistrian University of Athens, Greece. She holds PhD in Geomorphology from the Faculty of Geology and Geoenvironment of University of Athens, and PhD on Geoarchaeology from Faculty of Geoarchaeology, University of Franche-Comté, France. The focus of Dr. Nikki's research is related to geomorphology, coastal geomorphology, sea level changes, paleogeography reconstructions, geoarchaeology, the study of modeling of natural hazards, with emphasis on use of new technologies and innovations. Her research numbers are more than 300 publications in different scientific conferences and journals, and 28 books and educational textbooks. She has given many lectures both in Greece and abroad, such as Italy, France, Spain, Portugal, USA, Japan, and many others. Dr. Nikki has received a number of awards and recognitions. Amongst them, the most significant are 2 from the Academy of Athens in 2013 for work promoting the geological knowledge of Greek region for the paper entitled Evidence of Recent Rapid Subsidence in Southeast Cyclades, Greece, an effect of the 1956 Amorgos earthquake, and in 2019 for her monography Sea Level Changes. She is actively involved in academic research, educational activities, as she has organized more than 30 educational seminars and training schools, while she has participated in the organization of 37 national conferences and workshops of national and international interest. With this, I welcome Dr. Nikki Evelpidau to this particular keynote address. And over to you, Professor Chattopadhyay. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you, Professor
Sudhakar
Pardesi. I'm sorry if I don't pronounce it well. It's difficult for me for presenting me and my research. I will try. I cannot share my screen yet. Okay. Here it is. Okay. Before I start my talk, I would like to thank Professor Pardesi for representing me and my research, and Professor Haye. I'm sorry for pronouncing your name like that, and all the organizers of this interesting conference about geography for people, planet, prosperity and peace, for their kind invitation to give this lecture, and also my good colleague, Professor Sunil Kumar, Vice President of International Association of Geomorphologists, for proposing my name to be here today with you. It is always my pleasure to share knowledge and research with the Indian community, and I'm really happy to be here in this international conference you are organizing. So I will present today some results of my research about climatic change, the past, current, and future role of relative sea level rise in geocultural heritage. The geomorphology of the coastlines today is a result of the sea level changes, mainly during the Holocene. In order to understand what is happening today, to predict what will happen tomorrow, we need to investigate what happened in the past. This will help us to understand both the current and future role of relative sea level rise, as well as why these changes occur and how these changes have affected humans so far. Sea level changes and tectonic movements have often resulted in the abandonment of ancient harbors, in the submersion of coastal archaeological sites, or even in the adjustment of coastal populations to relative sea level change. As a result, the coastal and underwater environment hosts geomorphological and archaeological features testifying older shorelines and then different paleogeography. Such areas are often sites of significant geocultural heritage with unique characteristics. Most of my examples are coming from Mediterranean Sea. Sea level changes in Mediterranean are affected by the eustatic factor. In these changes, vertical tectonic movements of the land are added. Let's take a trip in the past and see here how the increase in temperature affected the sea level. The sea level fall observed during the last glacial zenith reached 120 meters below the present. Between 18,000 and 7,000 years before present, the sea level started rising at a rapid rate of the order of 1 meter per century for many millennia as the ice sheets collapsed. The maximum rate is noted when the ice sheets retreat, reaching several meters per century. However, the rate of sea level rise is not representative of the present, as the distribution of ice sheets in the 21st century is quite different. So between 6,000 years and 2,000 years, the sea level rose at a slow rate. In fact, about 2.5 meters in 4,000 years, and even slower in the last 2,000 years of that period, meaning the 18th century. Models were developed for the Antarctic ice sheet for the last 2,000 years that show a continuous but slow dynamic response to climate change since the last glacial maximum, contributing by 0.2 millimeter per year in the global mean sea level. This rate is slightly larger, but in agreement with the indications of very low rate of paleo data. Let's have a look how this part of the Aegean Sea looked like during Quaternary, and how the geography was changing during Holocene sea level rise. Here you may see the area of Cyclades. They are situated in the central Aegean Sea. How it looked like 18,000 years ago. You may see a big island here at the center of Aegean. Here is the capital of Greece, and it was connected with other islands in Aegean Sea in a bigger land. And this it was like that 18,000 years ago, when sea level was 120 meters lower than today. And this is how the same area was after, let's say, 4,000 years, when sea level was 82 meters lower than today. So you can see that in about 4,000 years, how the environment changed from this picture to this one. And then 13,000 years ago, sea level was 60 meters lower than today. And about 12,000 years ago, sea level was 43 meters lower than today. You can see the change, how rapid it was. This big island, it is separated in a much more smaller islands around this area, and it is only these two islands that they remain together connected. And this is the picture as it is today. Please note how fast was the rate in the beginning in relation to the rate we will see later during the last 6,000 years. So the prehistoric man that inhabited this area after 18,000 years before present becomes a witnesses of the coastal landscape change, since year after year they were flooded. You may see in this photo an area in one of these islands I saw you before. There is a town submerged below the current sea level, and we have mapped these submerged coastlines around the islands I showed you before, and it is clearly shown that most of them have taken place co-seismically. At this side of this sketch, you may see the dates that these different submergence took place. We may understand how all this affected humans of that time, as the sea transgression was fast and they could see the sea level flooding their space. An example is coming from this area you may see in this picture. It is coming from the central Aegean Sea, from the island of Naxos, and these inhabitants, it is a great example how these inhabitants dealt with the rise of sea level caused by the earthquake, which took place about 1,350 BC. So in this area, the construction of the floor of new rooms was built 10 centimeters higher than the earlier floors. The pebbles placed under the floor of the rooms were probably used as means of drainage, a way of preventing the moisture to penetrate the rooms. Let's move now to the Ionian Sea. It's between Greece and Italy. And let's see what happened in this area during the last 18,000 years. Here we can see that this area is connected in a big island This is the picture today. So you can see that we have smaller islands separated the one to the other. But 18,000 years ago, it was connected in one land. And this island here was part of the mainland. And of course, the mainland was much bigger than today. So you can see how this area was changing during this period. Of course, it is not only the sea that changing the coastal areas. This area you can see here is a big river, Achelous River, situated in this. You can see here part of the area we were discussing in the previous slide. The area of this river is situated here. So we can better understand how Achelous River Delta evolved through this map. Although sea level rise had flooded part of this area, deposits of the river was changing the geography, developing new land. A characteristic example is from a former island, Tricardo. Nowadays is part of the mainland. And in this area, it was Eniades city, which is a coastal city, very well known at the ancient period for shipsheads. Nowadays, this area is part of the mainland, and it is about 9 kilometers away from the sea. Although my talk is about sea level rise due to the eupstatic changes, we need to mention the changes due to tectonic causes in an area such as Mediterranean that are added to the sea level rise due to global warming. Let's move to Phlegraean fields and to the town of Puzzoli in Italy. Already from the 19th century, the importance of the archaeological remains of Puzzoli was recognized for the connection of relative sea level changes, tectonics, and volcanic activity. The columns in the Roman market were used as paleotidal gauges by pioneers geologists like Lyell. The columns were constructed above the ground, of course. They were then submerged below sea level, and afterwards they were uplifted again. In the middle of the columns here, you can see some dark zones that are visible, which were created by mollusks that made holes. Lithophaga in their home holes were used for dating these events I mentioned before. Let's move now to the eastern part of Aegean. This area is characterized by a complex tectonic regime. Archaeological data from the area suggest a subsidence regime, and corings performed in the two lagoons of the area here have shown that the southeastern part of this area is indeed under relative sea level rise trend that with an average rate of 0.8 millimeter per year since 6,000 years before present. At the same time, there are geomorphological indicators making clear that both subsidence and uplift events are occurring in this area. As I mentioned before, the tectonic regime is complex in the area, and the findings suggest vertical displacements related with major faults of the area, which are cancelled out by other faults dipping in the opposite direction. Maybe you have heard about an earthquake that took place in 2020 in October in Samos island in Greece, at the eastern part of Greece, and also western part of Turkey. And they had very big problems because of this earthquake. So we had the opportunity during this earthquake to decipher the relative sea level changes and the vertical tectonic displacement of the coastal zone of this area. Based on our findings, we concluded that the island has been cosmically uplifted, but with different magnitude, as you may notice from this map. During the earthquake, the western part has been uplifted by 35 centimeters cosmically, and this movement is fading out to the east. The southern part, where the drillings had taken place earlier, and which is known for the submergence through submerged tidal notches and archaeological sites, has been uplifted during this recent event, but still remains submerged. Going back to the eustatic sea level changes, the ancient inhabitation of Mediterranean has left plenty of information along its coast, and it is clear that some archaeological constructions contain interesting information regarding the magnitude of relative sea level changes since antiquity. Roman fish tanks are particularly significant archaeological indicators. A detailed survey of 8 fish tanks along the Tyrrhenian coast of Italy that have been constructed between the 1st century BC and the 2nd century AD included underwater measurements of geomorphological features and archaeological remains related to past sea level. Interesting information were gained about sea level changes during the Roman period, and specifically we found that the local sea level during the Roman period, meaning the last 2,000 years, did not exceed 60 centimeters below the present mean sea level. This area is situated in Central Aegean Sea, the area I showed you at the beginning that was changing very rapid since the last 18,000 years. And this area is nowadays southern than the nowadays port of this island. It is a coastal lagoon with a nice beach full of sand dunes, and it is vulnerable to sea level rise and to coastal erosion. This vulnerable area is protected by submerged beach rocks. Beach rocks are formations you can see here in this video, and basically correspond to a fossilized beach. You can see how it is extended from the one side to the other side of this nowadays lagoon. And in front of you, you can see the nowadays port of this area. There are many series of beach rocks, some of them submerged just a little bit, for example, a few centimeters, and some other beach rocks are submerged to 1.5 meters below today's mean sea level, 3 meters below nowadays sea level, 5 meters, and so on. So we can see here the same area where the beach rocks are noted together with the dates of their development. We therefore have a clear idea of the rate that the land retreated due to the sea level rise in the past. And this is the area I showed you before. And in this area, we have performed many shallow drillings, and we have studied the sediment, the stratigraphy, the fauna, and we have dated our findings in order to reconstruct the paleogeographical evolution of this area. So our findings show that there was an ancient harbor over here, which was active from at least 6,000 years before present until 200 years before present. This harbor probably used to serve the ancient site that was situated in this area. We can also see the reef, I showed you also before in the video, which is owed to the submerged beach rocks, the fossilized beaches that have been dated from 1,500 years ago to 4,500 years ago. So over the millennia, the harbor turned into a shallow lake, also by sediments brought by the nearby river that starts from upstream and flows into the lagoon. Our research have led to the reconstruction of the paleogeography, which looked like that 6,000 years ago. The ancient coastline with the beach rocks I showed you before is this one. And this used to be an ancient port with a narrow connection to the sea, as you may see here. So, based on geological, sedimentological, archaeological, geomorphological, and biological indicators, the rate of relative sea level rise in central Cyclades have been reconstructed. It is clear that in order to understand sea level fluctuations, many different indicators and parameters have to be taken into account. The ongoing global sea level rise poses a threat to a variety of geocultural heritage features that are hosted on the coastal zone. Two relatively recent studies have quantified the global sea level rise during the last 2 millennia. Based on the reconstruction of sea level changes over the past 2,000 years using salt marsh proxy records from North Carolina, Kemp and his colleagues suggest a stable sea level from at least 100 BC to 900 AD and increased rate to 0.6 millimeters per year during about 400 years. Since then, Kemp and his colleagues suggest sea level rise at an average rate of 2.1 millimeter per year, and Hevresya suggests sea level acceleration at the end of the 18th century with a rise of 6 centimeters during the 19th century. So let's go to the future. Looking to the future, let us see the most optimistic and pessimistic scenario for the change of sea level. The recent IPCC report shows that global temperature is expected to reach or to exceed 1.5 degrees of warming. Predictions of global mean sea level rise suggest an increase of 0.4 meters for the next years, and higher numbers are noted under the scenario, the pessimistic scenario. Let's have a look in this sketch. So for future, the IPCC predictions for very high emissions are shown with red. It's the scenario RCP 8.5, and with low emissions, which is the blue line, for the optimistic scenario, the scenario 2.6. So here in the upper left table, you may see the mean future temperature rise under different scenarios. In the upper right table, you may see the sea level changes under different changes of temperature corresponding to different scenarios. And in the lower table, we see the average global sea level rise forecast as defined by various researchers. One of the expected consequences of rising sea levels is the receding coastlines. So let's have a look here that which areas are more prone to sea level rise. It is, of course, the areas with low elevation, with low slopes, the lagoon areas, the delta areas, and so on. And at this point, I have to mention that sea level rise results in an increase in the depth of the seashore, allowing larger waves to reach the shore and erode the coastal front while removing sand or pebbles to the seabed. So it is not only the sea level rise that will flood the lowland areas. It is also the erosion that will take place, and it will be increased as sea level will be rising. Let's go to another area in the Corinth Gulf, again in Greece. It is an ancient land road for ships. It is clear from these photos that the monument today is being destroyed by the coastal erosion. So let's have a look to some numbers here. It is a recent paper of Vousdoukas and his colleagues published in Nature in 2020. And you can see what will happen in worldwide regarding to erosion. And these numbers is based to the optimistic scenario. A total 31% of the coast are lowland. They have low elevation, and more than 500 persons are living in these areas per square kilometer. So these sandy beaches, until in the next few years, the 1/3 of these areas will be eroded, and until the end of the century, the 63% will be destroyed because of the erosion. In Australia, because of its anaglyph and its morphology, the 50% of the total coastline will be will face severe erosion because of the sea level rise. So, in a place like the Mediterranean, there are already plenty of archaeological evidence submerged or on the coast, which are in danger because of sea level rise. Here I have selected a series of photos to see the solutions.
Professor Nikki, can you complete in another 5 minutes?
Yes, I'm finishing right now.
Okay, thank you.
So I have selected a series of photos to see the solutions followed in most cases for the protection of coastal zone. So this photo is coming from Egypt, and also this. Constructions that affect the natural processes. This photo is coming from an area in Greece. They are trying to protect the coastal zone after they destroyed slightly submerged beach rocks. These measures are taken from Italy near Fiumicino, and something similar we are doing in Corinth Gulf in Greece. And this is what nature does. This photo is coming from a site we discussed before. This is the slightly submerged beach rock we show you. We show in previous slides, and you may see clearly that beach rock is a natural breakwater, a natural protection for thousands of years. Here you may see wide and long sandy coastal zone in an area that normally receives an important wave activity. Parallel to the coastal zone, you may see two series of beach rocks, and deeper more exist. And based on the previous, we have tried to follow what nature is doing, and we created artificial beach rocks using local sand and local bacteria. This is the sample opening after 2 weeks of experiment, and it could be a solution for protecting the cultural heritage threatened by erosion without altering the environment, without bringing anything new to the environment. So thank you very much for the attention and for your hospitality in this interesting conference, and I wish you all to have a fruitful meeting and fruitful discussions.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Nikki. I think it's a wonderful talk, and I must say that we have learned a couple of things. Just to highlight a couple of points from your talk. I think you have recreated the scenario since 18,000 years. In fact, more or less, that is the time when the monsoon has set in, the change which you are trying to mark, because the monsoon, which is in the Asia, which is important, which is dated between 18,000 and 22,000. So that is one of the things. And there's a differential sea level rise, not all the time, same thing. There's also eustatic change and what is called that tectonic activities. But the most crucial point which you brought out is there's a space-time relationship, and there's a relative sea level rise in different places. And the coastal geomorphology play an important role in the matter of submergence and type of things what is really happening, because the coastline is not uniform, it is variable. And when you have some sort of like a pocket beaches or the lagoonal situation where the average sea level rise will be relatively higher than general global average, and those things becomes very important. You also highlighted what is the scenario is going to be created by the sea level change, which has been projected by IPCC, the report which has just come in August, which is really an important thing when you try to look into this one with the type of things which is happening in the archaeological sites all around. Also have highlighted the importance of the multidisciplinary approach, not one single one, that look into from the different angles, from the sedimentological perspectives, from geomorphological perspectives, and then again from life sciences. That's a very important thing. Finally, to protect these areas, you also try to develop what is called environmentally suitable methods that comes in. The type of material which has to be used becomes a very important part, and that also plays a important role here. Now, one or two words after thanking Professor Nikki about the geomorphologist here. If you try to look into this, the archaeology and geomorphology, the interface, which is very well developed in many places, but in India we are just starting. The type of geoarchaeological work has been done mostly, if you look into a couple of professors in different universities and NIO per se. We have a number of times we listen about the Dwarka, what is really happening in the Dwarka city of Gujarat. We also recently listening a similar scenario, what is called the Muziris in Kerala. In all these places, there are archaeological monuments which has really got, due to sea level rise and sea level change, got impacted. So what I suggest from our point of view for the young geographers and geomorphologists, this is one area which you can try to explore. One of the most important thing, how the sea level change is going to impact the Indian coast. And as there is a relativity involved in it, that means the relative position and the place-based research becomes important, because as the coast is not really uniform and we have a variable geomorphology, so try to look into that, and also look into what sort of scenarios called that after the IPCC, the scenario they have brought out, which Professor Nikki has shown us, that how the area is going to be flooded. We have a rough idea already got for India. Both Space Application Center has developed it, the National Institute of Oceanography has developed it, but not many geographers has really found place into that. We also suggest that geographers should make one of the very important things, what is called that, what sometimes has been talked, that archaeological monuments like Achaemenid assemblages, which are the old tools, sort of things which is being used, really to look into the distribution of them and how they are being affected in this area. One of the things also being suggested that in the rainforest area, what is happening, and that, the pollen movement of the rainforest area in the coastal, and they try to help us through the sedimentology, the sediment sequencing, that what is the sort of a deposition takes place and how the change is taking place, and what sort of archaeological monuments, where they are, whether they can be detected. Now, we have an Archaeological Survey of India. They do the excavations, but unfortunately, I think geographers not find much of a role in that. We urge, I think one of the suggestions can come from this conference, that in archaeological excavations, when they try to plan and design the excavations, because there are not only many sites, they're also trying to recreate the what is called the channels of the Vedic river Saraswati. There are different works on that. But look how these geomorphologists can play a role, and they also become part of this team when there's an investigation and the excavation goes on. With these few words, so I once again thank Professor Nikki for a wonderful talk. I also thank the organizers, Professor Jayabhai and his team, to invite me to participate in this one and be part of this one. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Nikki, for a wonderful lecture. It will definitely encourage the younger geographers. And I would also like to thank Dr. Srikumar Chattopadhyay for chairing this keynote lecture session. With this, I would like to thank Professor Nikki and Dr. Chattopadhyay on behalf of the Department of Geography, Savitribai Phule Pune University and the organizing committee of 42nd IIT. Thank you very much for being with us and sharing your views. Thank you, sir. Thank you, madam.
Thank you very much for inviting me. And I have noticed that there are some questions in the chat, so I will answer there in order to reserve some time.
Yeah, sure. I would request the participants to type their questions in the chat box so that she can answer you.
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Yeah, I would request the participants to type their questions if they have any question in chat box, so that you will get more time, and definitely she will answer your questions if there are any.
Yeah.
Thank you, Professor Nikki, and thank you, Dr. Srikumar.
Thank you
for chairing this session. I would like to call upon
Professor Sudhakar, you have been muted. You have been muted.
Yeah, thank you. For the next keynote address, I would like to call upon Professor D.K. Nayak to share his views, and I would like to request Dr. R.B. Bhagat to chair this particular session. Before we start this session, I would like to introduce Dr. R.B. Bhagat, who is going to chair this session. Dr. R.B. Bhagat is a professor and head Department of Migration and Urban Studies, International Institute of Population Sciences, IIPS, Mumbai, India. His research interest includes migration and urbanization, demography, ethnicity, and politics, analyzed through lens of space and place as a critical framework of analysis. He has served as a consultant to UNESCO, UNICEF, India Initiative on Migration, International Organization of Migration, and Population Division, United Nations. Professor Bhagat was a member of IUSSP panel on demography of armed conflict 2006 to 2009 and co-coordinator of ENVIS Center on Population and Environment funded by the Ministry of Environment and Forest Government of India 2007 to 2012. He was coordinating lead author of migration chapter of Hindu Kush Himalaya Monitoring and Assessment Program, HIMAP, at International Center for Integrated Mountain Development, ICIMOD, Kathmandu. He has also been a project team member of the IMAGE project, comparing internal migration around the globe, located at Shanghai University. His recent co-edited books include Climate Change, Vulnerability and Migration, published by Routledge in 2018, Migration and Urban Transition, a Development Perspective by Routledge in 2020, Migrants, Mobility and Citizenship in India, published by Routledge in 2021. He is currently the Chief Editor of Demography India and Official Journal of Indian Association for the Study of Population. With this, I would like to request Professor R.B. Bhagat to chair this particular session.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
I welcome Professor D.K. Nayak to share his view on the today's topic of keynote address. Before he starts, I would like to introduce Professor D.K. Nayak. Professor Nayak is currently teaching at Northeastern Hill University, Shillong, for more than 35 years as a professor in geography. His specialization is social geography and population geography. He has done his MPhil and PhD from Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi. He has published more than 4 books and more than 65 articles in peer-reviewed journals in India and abroad. He has done more than 5 research projects and served as an advisor to London School of Economics and Political Science. He has done sponsored projects on crisis of governance. He has participated more than 31 international conferences and workshops and more than 95 national conferences and workshops. He has delivered lectures as an invited and plenary lecture in more than 6 international conferences and more than 22 national conferences. He is member of many leading bodies or academic bodies such as IUSSP, that is International Union for Scientific Study Population. He is life member of Geographical Society of Northeastern Hill Region, India, Shillong. Life member of Geographical Society of the Institute of Indian Geographers. Then life member of National Association of Geographers, India. Then Northeastern India Geographical Society, Guwahati. He is General Secretary of Geographical Society of Northeastern Hill Region, India. Member of Editorial Committee of Hill Geographer, Shillong. Executive Committee member of Northeast India Geographical Society. Member of Editorial Board, Northeastern Geographers. Executive Committee member of NAGI. Then Secretary of IIG, Pune. He is a member of Joint National Committee on IUGG and IGU, Indian National Science Academy New Delhi, life member of Deccan Geographical Society, then national representative of International Association of Meteorological Society. Again, he is representing our nation as an executive committee member of the International Association of Meteorology and Atmospheric Sciences. He is editor of Hill Geographer GSNEHR and joint editor of Transaction Institute of IIG, and currently he is editor of Transactions. Besides this, there are many organizations of which Professor Naik is a member, like NEHU and Sikkim University, then member of University Code NEHU, member of Board of Studies for undergraduate board studies, geography, Shillong, Dean Students Welfare NEHU, Chairman Board of Undergraduate Studies in Geology, NEHU, then member Board of Undergraduate Studies, Arunachal University. He has worked as a Dean School of Human and Environmental Sciences, NEHU. Then he is member of Executive Council, NEHU. Then he has visited several countries to deliver lectures and his research work, particularly Bangladesh, Brazil, France, Thailand, Singapore, Malaysia, UK, France, Belgium, Germany, Tunisia, Morocco, Busan. So with this introduction, I would like to welcome Professor D.K. Naik, and I would like to request Professor R.B. Bhagat to chair this session. Over to you, Bhagat sir.
Okay, thank you, Professor Pardesi, for a kind introduction. So time is short. I think I will request Professor Naik to make presentation, and then at the last, I will make some comments if time permits. So Professor Naik, you are welcome.
Thank you, Professor Bhagat. I know I'm quite conscious of the time, so and good that I don't have much to share in terms of PowerPoint. I continue whatever I have written about this very important conference as a keynote paper. I'm indeed delighted and feel extremely honored and privileged to speak in front of the respected chairperson, Professor Bhagat, esteemed delegates, ladies and gentlemen who are present in this all too important conference on geography for people, planet, prosperity, and peace. I'm deeply indebted to the Institute of Indian Geographers for inviting me and giving me this rare opportunity to share my thoughts on the focal theme of the conference, which I find not only befitting, but also highly exciting as a theme. Mr. Chairman, sir, in 2015, the world came together around an ambitious vision for a safer, healthier, and more prosperous world by the year 2030. That agenda, articulated across 17 Sustainable Development Goals, was designed intentionally to represent a new approach to development, threading together economic, social, and environmental dimensions while acknowledging that decisions and approaches are related and have both synergies and trade-offs. One way to measure progress is to focus on the 4 Ps that shape the Sustainable Development Goals, including people, planet, prosperity, and peace, which forms the core issues of deliberation in the present conference. And one may add to it another P that hinges on partnerships. These 5 Ps highlight how the Sustainable Development Goals are intertwined, an intertwined framework instead of a group of unrelated goals. Progress on one P must balance and support progress on another. The foremost concerns are the people. The Sustainable Development Goals declare the world's determination to end poverty and hunger in all their forms and dimensions, and to ensure that all human beings can fulfill their potential in dignity and equality and in a healthy environment. The second concern is the planet. The Sustainable Development Goals set a goal to protect the planet so it can support the needs of the present and future generations. Nearly every day we are seeing just how connected and fundamental climate change is to global development. The third goal aims at ensuring prosperity. The Sustainable Development Goals aim to ensure that all human beings can enjoy prosperous and fulfilling lives, and that economic, social, and technological progress occurs in harmony with nature. Inequality is one of the defining issues of this generation and requires a commensurate focus that to date has been lacking. The fourth objective is to achieve peace. And the Sustainable Development Goals rightly note that there can be no sustainable development without peace and no peace without sustainable development. Therefore, they set out goals to foster peaceful, just, and inclusive societies. Of the 4 Ps, I would like to draw your attention to the issue of rising inequality, both across nations and internationally, which is perhaps the most difficult goal to achieve and can jeopardize the noble goals of sustainable development concerning people, planet, prosperity, and peace, as well as partnership. The interplay of between and within country inequality, the relative contribution of each to overall global inequality, and the implications this has for who benefits from the recent global growth and by how much, has become a significant avenue for economic research. The last 2 decades have seen a remarkable shift in the pattern of global income inequalities. For the first time since the Industrial Revolution, a trend of economic convergence between individual world citizens has been identified. Since the 1980s, evidence suggests that inequalities have indeed increased more rapidly within countries than between them, heralding the reversal of increasing between country inequality, a trend that began with the Industrial Revolution. The global Gini, a measure of income inequality across all individuals in the world, fell from 69.7 in 1988 to 66.8 in 2008, and again to 62.5 in 2013. Rising economic growth in 2 highly populous countries of China and India is recognized as major drivers of this decline in between countries inequality, though countries in sub-Saharan Africa and Latin America too have played a significant role in reducing inequality. In light of such trends, and in contrast to 2 centuries of what was referred to as big-time divergence between developed and developing countries, some economists have pointed somewhat optimistically to aspects of a great convergence. 1980s seem to have brought this change and transition to lesser inter-country inequality. The timing of this shift in inequality patterns corresponds with the rise of new forms of economic globalization that have transformed spatial relationships around the globe. Expanding transportation and communication networks, trade liberalization, reorganization of financial structures, and the rise of new regional trade agreements have been redefining flows of commodities, investments, labor, and political power across the globe. In the process, the where and who of winners and losers of globalization are changing, as is the traditional role of the state in economic governance. The state is no longer the only or even the primary actor in economic processes, because markets are now global, regional, and local, as well as much as they are national. Unfortunately and ironically, reduced inequality between countries has coincided with growing inequalities within many countries. Such growing intranational or within countries inequality is not just a feature of developing countries. Even the developed countries are witnessing rising inequalities within them. In-country inequalities are now mostly higher than what it was in 1990. The large emerging economies of China, India, and Russia have in particular experienced significant increase in income inequality since moving to more market-based economic systems. While many in both developed and developing countries are experiencing very little by way of economic progress, the very richest people in the world have seen their incomes and wealth grow significantly. The January 2017 Oxfam report found that just 8 men collectively own a level of wealth equivalent to that of the bottom half of the global population, constituting nearly 3.6 billion people. I don't need to give more and more information, and I'm sure all of you are aware of the kind of inequity that is rising rapidly. And in particular, during the period of this pandemic, we have been reading that perhaps this 2017 report of inequality is an understatement. The kind of inequity that has increased globally in the rich countries as well as in poor countries like India is surpassing all our estimates. It's true that many in emerging market economies have experienced significant income growth from a low starting point. But although the number of those living in extreme poverty has reduced to less than 10% of the world's population, as people move to a status of precarity, a state of persistent insecurity with regard to employment or income, consumption floor analysis suggests that poorest of the poor have seen little benefit. While there is much to feel satisfied that the between countries inequalities are reducing and there is a sign of global convergence, addressing global inequalities must continue to prioritize people in the global south who still face the biggest challenges. One cannot also seriously ignore the left behind in the global north too, who may be better off than most in the south, but have experienced little gain for a long time. Their marginalization is extremely problematic in terms of social justice and supporting peace and stability. But if it continues to give rise to strong nationalism, which is the case, it could augment a variety of global inequalities. This brings us to address the next important question of environment, inequality, and sustainable development. Mr. Chairman, sir, there is a common belief that poor countries must develop. Environmental concerns can be sacrificed for this or is viewed as a luxury that can be addressed once poverty is alleviated. It is also a common belief that populations are placing excessive burdens on the world's limited resources, which is a major source of environmental problems. This environment-only approach blames the victims and conveniently ignores one of the most important pillars of sustainability, that is society and social justice. It is important to note that consumption of world's wealthiest fifth of humanity is much more than the rest of the world. Ladies and gentlemen, growing inequality is the biggest threat to sustainable development. Globally, intranational inequity levels have reached unsustainable levels, something that the world witnessed during medieval times. I'm reminded of the Brundtland report of 1990, which held poverty as a major cause and effect of global environmental problems. According to the report, the poor may be the victims, but they are the agents too, leading to an understanding that if one is poor, one regrets, and poverty is same as poor. The imminent conclusion is that the poor people cannot, in their present state, practice sustainable development. This poor degrades environment for survival narrative, not only eliminates the need to theorize causes of poverty, inequality, and justice, it obfuscates the role of the poor as environmental sustainers or as effective environmental managers and stewards. The narrative conveniently hides uncomfortable questions pertaining to global and regional inequality that engenders poverty. Sheldon Annis, an eminent geographer, for example, cites the case of peasants with secure land tenure as environmental protectors. On the other hand, the landless and the rootless subsistence peasants and squatters have fewer personal disincentives to cut forest cover, consume wildlife, plant annual crops on eroding slopes. It is the poor who are traditionally at the forefront of environmental activism, be it new social and ecological movements, grassroots political action, or as activists in grassroots ecology movement such as Bishnoi or Chipko or Narmada Bachao Andolan, etc. Coming to the question of climate change, the neoliberal response to the looming threat has been quite perplexing, that supports the inevitability of climate action, but not at the cost of economic growth. There is a concerted attempt to deny that climate crisis is an outcome of an economic system bent on extraction and profit. The climate change impacted damage to the system is referred to as externalities, requiring technological solutions, and even argues for rapid urbanization, seen as an important ally in mitigating the adverse effects of climate change. Indian policymakers too push for rapid urbanization and nail their hopes on a trickle-down effect of economic growth. Mr. Chairman, sir, allow me to say that climate change is leading to a situation adding a new layer to the already existing spatial and social segregation. We risk a climate apartheid scenario where the wealthy pay to escape overheating, hunger, and conflict, while the rest of the world is left to suffer. Those with better access to infrastructure are better able to withstand the effect of climate change. Reportedly, the rich is already building luxury climate bunkers and hiring security for their protection. Climate change threatens to undo the last 50 years of progress in development, global health, and poverty reduction, says Philip Alston, UN Special Rapporteur on Extreme Poverty and Human Rights. Global heating. And Chairman, sir, I'm deliberately using the term against the conventional global warming, is likely to undermine democracy, rule of law, and can sharpen community discontent. It is a potent weapon to stimulate nationalistic, xenophobic, racist, and other such divisive responses. Maintaining a balanced approach to civil and political rights will be extremely complex. Climate change is not simply an externality having its impact, it is a crisis that is deeply social. Climate change is not so much a threat to our physical health. It merely exposes geographies built on inequity, deprivation, segregation, and oppression. Climate change is not an environmental issue. It is deeply social and political. It is not a change, but a crisis. It threatens to tear apart the fragile social stability and is a threat to democracy. Mr. Chairman, sir, I'm privileged to place my views in this august audience of eminent geographers and researchers coming from a wide spectrum of sciences. I argue and appeal to all, particularly to my fellow geographers, to look at all the aspects of sustainable development with a fresh perspective that doesn't relegate environmental issues or threat to the planet coming from climate change or rising inequality within the nations as unrelated to each other, but as highly intertwined. We need to abandon our age-old practice of viewing of environmental crisis as an externality, but as integral to society and societal issues, continuously shaping and reshaping geographies of inequity, deprivation, segregation, oppression, undermining democracy and human rights. All these are vital to achieving a more humane world and achieving peace. We need to challenge assumptions about space and territory, offer new conceptual and analytical tools, and encourage students to question mainstream thinking. I'm confident that the 3-day conference will contribute significantly to our understanding of sustainable development that addresses to some of the points raised in this brief discussion. Thank you, sir, and thank you all for giving me a patient hearing and listening to my rant. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Nayak. A very rich presentation, and you covered very vast area, talking about social, economic, environmental issues. And I think that is the foundation of sustainable development. So you have rightly said all these things. And when we compare with Millennium Development Goal, which was launched in 2000, and this Sustainable Development Goals in 2015, where social, economic, and environmental issues dimensions are integrated, environment becoming very, very important, which was not there. And of course, these 4 pillars, we have people, planet, prosperity, peace, and you added one more, which was left out, partnership. I think these are very, very important pillars of sustainable development. Yes, you also highlighted about the aspects of equity, inequality, marginalization, nationalism, something going, xenophobia, all these things you have highlighted very rightly. And we have to, I think, understand all these pillars, 5 pillars, how these 5 pillars are interrelated and also complementary with each other. But at the same time, there is a conflict among them. And that is the real question, that how people versus planet. There is a conflict between people versus planet. We want to save the planet, but then again, people are getting affected. And we have also prosperity versus peace coming in the form of inequality. So what are the contradictions, how contradictions are emerging between these pillars? which prevents a type of harmony or a type of complementary it is not becoming. So we have to look at, and geography can play a very important role in that perspective. And our space and place paradigm or theoretical framework of space and place, that can become, I think, very important tools to understand that we are producing space, but we are not able to make places. And that is where the people versus planet contradictions comes, that we are producing spaces, changing the face of the earth. We are urbanizing, you have rightly said that. And then in that process, in the production of space, actually we are accumulating capital. We are creating wealth. But then what happens to the accumulation of capital or creation of wealth? So the issues are, I think, the fundamental issues you have highlighted. The issue of sustainability and issue of equity. I think these are two fundamental things. But how then we can achieve that? Generally, scholars say that yes, we should have a value-based society. We have ethical society which can conserve our planet, which can conserve our resources, ethical, value-based. But then we have to see that values and ethics may not be sufficient, but we have to build institution also. And how to build institution, I think that is very important. And you rightly pointed out democracy. I understand the building institutions, democracy played very important role. And democracy is not simply independent. Democracy comes with other values. Democracy comes with values to respect diversity. Diversity and democracy goes together, and we know as a geographer how much valuable for us biodiversity is that. But at the same time, we forget that our society is also, we have a social diversity. And as we develop, society is not becoming less diverse, but it is becoming more and more diverse with the process of urbanization, with economic development, with occupational diversity. A lot of occupations coming in modern times. And with occupational diversity, there is a migration. And then if you see cities, so much diversity coming, cities having certain positive aspects as well as negative aspects also. So I think your aspects that you covered, just I am trying to add some material in that and to a little bit unfold that yes, democracy is very important to build institutions. It is not simply saying that ethics and values can protect environment. Ethics and values are very, very important, but institutions are also very important. So we have democracy, we have diversity, but then it should be also decentralization. So that is geographers, I think, is a prerogative to understand diversity, how to link diversity with democracy, and then decentralization. And that all three, I think, 4P, I would like to add 4D, that is democracy, diversity, decentralization, and development. So I think this should be the foundation to understand development, and development is not sufficient in terms of economic development. We know even human development is not sufficient when adequate, when we try to define in terms of education or health, and again going to the economic growth type of thing, linking with neoliberal agenda, neoliberalism, what you have pointed out. Actually, development is social development. And this social development, goal of the social development may vary from country to country. So Bhutan can be most happy nation. And similarly, one can claim. So ranking, linearity, all these are very, very destructive things have emerged. Ranking and linearity and all these, what we do in scientific research and science, sometimes we try to impose. So I think I appreciate your presentation, and just I added some of the things. to just to explain or add some material to it. And I enjoyed your presentation and listening previous speaker also. And I take this opportunity to thank IG and particularly Professor Jai Bhai for inviting me. And I also like to express my gratitude to Professor K.R. Dixit, who has been source of motivation and inspiration. I draw a lot of inspiration talking to him, and that gives me a type of strength and energy. And I am really grateful to you, sir. So thank you, listening to you and meeting all my friends. Some of I know already, some of them I know, and some of I'm meeting first time. So thank you very much. And so I like to stop here. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Professor R.B. Bhagat, for chairing this session. I would like to thank to Professor D.K. Nayak for delivering lecture and Professor R.B. Bhagat for chairing this keynote lecture session on behalf of the Department of Geography, Savitribai Phule Pune University, and the organizing committee of 42nd IIG. I would like to thank to both of you, and particularly Professor Nayak for sharing his views and Professor Bhagat for chairing this session. Thank you very much. Over to Patel Madam.
Okay, I think I will just intervene the things. So our sessions will next plenary sessions. One is, there are the parallel plenary sessions. One is for the physical geography and other is for the human geography point of view. So it is the parallel sessions, because last time there was suggestion, the people have the interest, so they can get the opportunity to listen the expertise from their domain. So we have done that arrangement for this conference. So it will start by the 2:30. The information and all the things is given to the particular chair. So for each presenter will have is given a time of the 20 minutes, and they will complete the 20 minutes. And finally there will be a comment from the chair and the co-chair. So this will be started by the 2:30. Thanks a lot for the patiently listening, and we present here in a large number and made all these morning sessions from the inauguration to the keynote address very successful. So thanks a lot. So we'll join by the 2:30 here, and because again we have the technical sessions in the 4:30. So I think we'll start the sessions immediately after the by the time of 2:30. So thanks a lot. So we'll conclude the here. Ajay.